And welcome to season 3, episode 12 of Rewind with Ro and Rob. I am your host, Rob. I'm Ro, and my amazing co-host, Rob Smith. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you, Ro? How are you?
Good, good. I just got back from New York, so that was very interesting. I got to go to a Knicks game Monday night and felt the energy of New York. I don't know if you're a sports fan at all, but catching up with like family and friends and then feeling the energy. New York is notoriously awful when it comes to but basketball, like we haven't won anything in so long. And so the energy in New York, like you could feel it off the just everywhere. The nights of the game, Monday night, I was like, "This is a Monday night." It was packed. Everything was just jumping. So, and then the crazies in New York, the smells, the senses. When you haven't been home, you're like, "I miss this," and you're like, "I don't miss this. I don't miss these smells." And what I always do, I always decide to take the train. And there's certain times you shouldn't take the train. Like I want to feel the sound and the energy, and then I forgot there's crazy people on the train. And then you need to make a certain amount of money in New York nowadays to avoid the crazy. There's no way like you can take the train at a normal time and not see just be like, why am I here? Why am I
Massive amounts of insanity.
Yeah.
It's so crazy though, because I think I called you while you were at the game. I picked that exact moment.
Yeah, I was like, hey man, I'm at the game. I'm sorry, man, I can't talk to you right now.
Exactly.
I'm like, I am in no position to have any serious conversation with you right now.
No conversation at all right now.
Yeah, and that wasn't cheap either. That was so shout out to my family and friends. Thank you so much. Appreciate
it. Big spender.
Appreciate it. Well, hey, I got good friends. I appreciate them.
Gotta appreciate good friends who spend money on you.
There you go. You gotta. Hey, I'm amazing. I'm good time. But the weather sucked. So it was a rainy, cold weekend in New York, which sucked. But then Monday, the sun came out, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is why you move here. A beautiful day in New York is like it's like no other place on the planet. It's like being in another country." So anyway,
meanwhile, I was in Miami, and it was way too hot and sticky. But happy to be back in LA, where it's not ridiculously hot right now.
What's the weather like in LA right now?
It's a little overcast and nice and cool. It's like the perfect temperature, but it's not super sunny out, but okay,
just enough. But you wear a light jacket or a sweater.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. So we got sorry everybody. We were away last week. We tried to get a show, but it was just too much going back and forth. I was traveling, he was traveling, and Rob's a busy person. He's a very busy person. So when he's busy, it's try to fit things in. But anyway, we picked a movie last week. I've had a whole week and a half to digest the film, listen to some things, make my own kind of idea of what it is. So we did the movie Challengers. It came out 2 weeks ago by Luca Guadagnino, an Italian director. He's done a couple other films as well. This is starring Zendaya, Mike Feist, and Josh O'Connor. Everybody's seen, now I will call it iconic because it's her in the middle of the bed and then the two boys in the next to them. So your brain is going all over the place. I remember even just talking to my girlfriend. She goes, that movie looked like it was like a corny funny. And I was like, no, it's actually surprising, like a serious film. There might be a couple of funny moments in there, but it's actually, I think it's a serious film. There's some great characters and these guys did a great job. So anyway, let me tell you what the story is about, and then we'll kind of go in there. I don't want to give away anything, Rob, too much, but we can just go to places and just, kind of, you decide what you want to do. Anyway, the movie starts off in New York. You see the skyscraper of New York, and then it goes into New Rochelle, and where we meet the characters at their younger selves. We will later find out that Tashi, played by Zendaya, was a former tennis player turned coach who has transformed her husband, Art, played by Mike Feist, from a mediocre tennis player to a Grand Slam champion. Now he's recently been getting into a funk, and she's like, listen, we got to get you out of this funk. I got a good idea. We'll put you in a lower tournament. You won't have to worry about anybody. You just go win it, and it'll build your morale. So she signs him up for this tournament. That's the same tournament they did 13 years ago back in New Rochelle. And so he goes in there and thinks it's always going to be just, that's it. I'm in and out, and I can get back to doing what I do. But he winds up running into his old best friend and Zendaya's old lover, Patrick, played by Josh O'Connor. And then all this stuff kind of kicks back in and rekindles. Did you hear something?
No, just you.
Somebody jumped in like, really? Okay, sorry, everybody. Anyway, so he runs into his old friend. They play in the finals against each other again, which they recap of what they did 13 years ago. And this is for bigger stakes. And now we see everything that's unfolded with their relationships, how it started and everything. And then you do a lot of back and forth. I love to ask you what you thought about that, because sometimes movies can really mess that up. But then we go into the story. What do you think of the movie, Rob?
I was so pleasantly surprised by how insanely wonderful this movie was done. The crazy part is I did not want to have too much information before I walked into the theater about what it was. And I was so tired of people saying, I don't want to see a tennis movie. I don't want to see a tennis movie. And this is so much more than a tennis movie. It's a love story. Use
your words.
Man, it's just so good. It really is a romance on top of a story of like finding balance between like art and love, and like it's so much more than a tennis movie, but it's all masked in the shell of this tennis story. It was so well written. This is one of those movies where you have those moments where you jump out of your seat and go, "Oh my God!" Like I don't even want to even jump to the end of the movie, but there was a point near the end of the film where I literally had to stop myself from screaming at the screen because they just wrote this so well. And of course the performances were stellar, led by Zendaya, but I've been raving about this film since I left the theater.
So to add to what you just said, they kind of made this, I guess that's the way they kind of pulled us in, is that they made us feel it was going to be like the movie Wild Things, if you guys remember that back in the day. And the biggest scene was there's a threesome in the water, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be one of these films. And it wasn't that at all, right? I mean, that bed scene is literally 2 seconds. There's a whole other, movie that kind of unfolds there. And so I kind of like the misleading, because I went in there thinking, oh, this is going to be things. So the only thing they can do is make it good. I'm already going in here with hate and negativity. Is going to be watching it. The only plus I get to see is Zendaya, and then kind of go from there, which I finally see her in the light as a young, beautiful young woman. I've always seen her as like my daughter. I'm not my daughter, my cousin or my sister. And now I saw her as like, oh, damn, who's this? Okay, all right.
She's a hot grown woman.
That's I was like, damn. I was like, I don't know if I was her boyfriend, how secure I would be in this film, because there's some scenes, and I'm like, okay. I don't know if I need to see this film right now. But anyway, so the movie cuts back and it does a lot of back and forth, which I kind of love. And they do a great job of them being younger and older, where some films, they try to put makeup on them and CGI and do stuff like that. Whatever they did, it was the long hair, short hair, they did a great job where like you believe the characters. You also believe in their relationships, right? The friendships that they had. I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for the two young gentlemen that really solidified it in the beginning, this movie doesn't really have that, that base, that foundation. And because of them showing their friendship and how they came along, vying for the same girl, which they meet Zendaya's character, Tashi, at a tournament. And there's like a pool party in Long Island. They go out to there. It's ran by Adidas, plug. And she's this big up and coming tennis star. And then they kind of want to meet her. And afterwards they meet her and they say, hey, you want to hang out by the beach? They say, yeah. They start talking about what their future is. Patrick wants to go right into the pros, where Zendaya and Art are like, no, we want to go to college, Stanford. So they're both going to be in Stanford together, and they want to build their careers and go from there. And Patrick's kind of like, hey, I'm a recluse. I just want to go my own path, and I ain't got time for this other stuff. I want to be a pro tomorrow. And Zendaya and Art have more of a plan, but Art needs to be driven, right? And you really see these characters kind of build later, and you see it's kind of like looking at in the future, if you had a crystal ball and saw yourself like, hey, what happens when I go this path and what happens when I go that path, right? And not having anything to fall back on, because we also see her character kind of fall to the wayside, right? And, that story of that professional that could have went pro and got an injury and that was it, right? And so what do they do with their career? And so I love that it touches on all those levels of you being in sports and playing sports. And he did a great job with tennis. Like the shots I saw, did you see in IMAX?
Yes.
Oh, you have to see this movie in IMAX. You have
Yeah.
to see this movie in IMAX. The last movie I saw in IMAX was Creed 3, and he did a great shot. So they do a million great shots in this film. Like even when they're sweat, you feel like you're on the court with them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, damn man, your sweat is coming. I'm chill. And their close-ups, the way they hit the ball, the sound is great. The soundtrack, it felt like 80s, like Tron, but all the classic 80s movies. It was like they like built you up. You're like, okay, let's go for the scene. So the cinematography was amazing. There were so many positive things. The only thing I was waiting for was these actors to mess it up. That's the only thing I was waiting for. Because I was like, someone's going to mess it up. There's no way this movie can have all these things and no one's really talking about anything but the threesome thing that we all think that's going to happen. Right? So add on to that, Rob. What do you think? And what kind of drove you in a different path to be like, you know, hey, there's more to this movie than just what they showed us?
I think it was the core storyline too. The film wasn't just about the relationship between the three principal characters, and it wasn't just about tennis. The story itself is, and Tashi says it. She says, tennis is not just hitting a ball. Tennis is a relationship between the two players, and the whole film is centered around the idea of her trying to coach these men into realizing that they'll never reach their potential until the moment that they have a relationship with the other person across from them on the court. And that is what she was trying to get them to do. And the crazy part is that's the whole foundation of this film. And if you see the end, I don't want to ruin it, but if you understand the end of the film, they figure it out at the end. That is that end moment. They both realize, they finally get it, and they both finally have that relationship on the court. And that is the culmination of this whole story, right? So then her character is teetering between these men because she sees the potential in both of them. She sees the potential in her husband. She sees the potential in the guy who was her previous lover, who happens to be his best friend. Her husband has gotten to a point in his career where he's saying, I'm over it. I give up. I'm done after this. And she sees the potential opportunity for someone else who she could help to get there, because I don't feel like her career has been fulfilled because they have not learned this lesson yet. They haven't realized that tennis is more than just hitting a ball. Neither of the men have figured that out. And then in the end, I feel like everybody wins because they figure it out.
Tashi is a home wrecker, Rob.
But that's not what the story's about. Listen. That's not what this movie is about. And
listen, I understand what you're saying. Yes, great point, Rob. There you go. That's what the movie. Let me tell you something. Home wrecker, and his boy is gangster as hell. I'm gonna give you some scenes that I was like, wow.
Nope, don't give away the end though.
I'm not giving away the end, but I'm just how Tashi winds up dating Patrick earlier, and then Art is with Tashi at school, and he's like, he's still hating, man. That's supposed to be your boy. He's backstabbing, like, hey, man, he don't really love you. And I'm like, wait, well, hey, man,
but do you realize why she broke up with him? Why did Tashi break up with Patrick?
Because Art was a backstabbing mofo.
No, that's not why Tashi broke up with Patrick. He
never even got a chance.
Tashi broke up with Patrick because Patrick didn't take tennis as serious as she did, and he didn't remember.
Neither did Art. Art had to have somebody, but had to literally have someone direct him and do that. She did it for her own selfish. Give me a second. She did it for her own selfishness because she was dripped. She had more heart than he. There's a moment in the film where she's like, "Listen, I wish that I could pick up a racket right now. You little biatch." You like that. That's basically what she was calling.
Why? Because
he didn't have the drive anymore, and she
had. No, that's not what it was. So if you remember in the scene where Tashi and Patrick break up,
drink a bottle tonight. You'll make her drink a bottle tonight, Rob.
The reason why Tashi breaks off her relationship with Patrick is because Patrick says, "You're not my fucking coach," and she basically tells him that the reason he's never going to succeed is because he won't take it as serious as she does. And she tells them in the beginning, tennis is not just hitting a ball. Tennis is a relationship between two players. And until you understand that, you will never reach the level of greatness that you can. That is the foundation of this movie. Tashi is telling you what the two characters need to figure out in order to reach their potential. And so as we progress through the story, neither of those men ever have that moment of realization. So they never reach the pinnacle of their careers.
Okay. but the argument starts because Art starts putting seeds in her head.
But that was.
You don't think that's a big because that. Hold on.
Neither of them cared.
Because what are you talking about? The whole if she gets injured and the injury, who is there for you, right, depends on that argument. If that argument doesn't happen, who knows if the injury happens because she's playing out of anger? That's what I'm saying. So all this falls back on Art. Now you can say there's a whole other storyline. Yes, I get that, but we got to look at them. Some shoot. I mean, it's like, hey, I'm leading you to the lion's den. And here you go. Here's the door. Here's the keys.
But then if that was the case, and I'm trying not to spoil this for anyone watching, right? So there's still a relationship and a connection between Tashi and Patrick throughout the years. Even though she decides to step away from Patrick and spend her life with Art, right?
So you're trusting Tashi as your partner. Let's talk about this now. But let's really dissect it. Since you're saying, you got to find yourself and find this stuff. Let me ask you something, Rob. Are you marrying somebody like that?
Tashi, yeah. Listen, Tashi.
Answer the question. We can go anywhere else. Just answer that one question.
Because
based on Tashi's character in the movie, the way how gangster she is, self-motivating, what she wants to do, is that a partner you trust?
In tennis or in a relationship?
Oh my! In the relationship, Rob.
Probably not. But that's irrelevant to the point of what Tashi wants out of this story. Tashi wants to be able to be the most successful tennis player, even though she cannot physically do it anymore because of her injury. So now she's living vicariously through her husband, Art. Art still has never realized his potential, and Art is failing as a tennis player because he still has not listened to what Tashi told him in the beginning, which was tennis is not about hitting a ball. You can be the best at hitting a ball, but until you have a relationship with the person across from you, you're never going to be great. And so it didn't matter. She was not, because her goal to become the best tennis player through her husband is not being realized. So she says, let me put you in a situation that's going to push you to have a relationship.
Yeah, but she also said, if you don't win, I'm out.
But she knew what was going on, bro. She was putting him in that situation on purpose to force him to do what happened, which was have a relationship with the person.
Who does that to their partner, gives them ultimatums and because I want to motivate you? Like, come on, Rob.
That was her character. Her character is ruthless. Tashi is ruthless.
Tashi is gangster. She's one of the most gangster characters, and she sits there with a little glass like,
she was gangster. And that's why I was saying Tashi didn't really care that much. I think she did care, but her tennis came first for her. So having a relationship with Patrick versus having a relationship with Art, she didn't really care. She just wanted to build with somebody who understood tennis. So Patrick, whatever. And that's why when Patrick was like, I don't know, this isn't a woman who we're together, but whatever. They both kind of were in this like blase.
It's college too. Yeah, it's college too, and you're the pros.
But tennis was their focus, and tennis was Tashi's focus, and tennis is what drove her. And she wanted to become the greatest, even though she physically couldn't be the greatest. She wanted her husband to become the greatest, but he hadn't realized what she.
But you don't see that there's some selfishness in that by trying to make somebody else the greatest when they don't want to be the greatest.
Yeah,
and they can understand the sport later. Yeah, that's great. But I still think he's like, well, you know what? I get it now, but I'm done.
But again, that's what I'm saying. I think is the brilliance of this film, because it's not just about. It's not just about the broken relationship.
There's layers.
Yeah, the relationships are broken because the characters have not figured out what they need to realize, which is, in order to be great, you need to achieve this, which is what she told them. And until that happened, the relationships are going to be broken. Their tennis experiences are going to be broken. They're never going to succeed at anything else, because the core thing they need to realize is how to have a relationship on the court to be great. And
you know what I wish we got an idea of Tashi's background, because I kind of love how she was so driven, but then when she was gangster, I was like, where is this coming from? Like, who hurt you? Like seriously, seriously, there was like moments I'm like, damn, girl, like you were just like, I'm focused. I'm in the driver's seat, and either in the car or you're out of the car. You know, I don't even care if you bought the car. I'm still gonna take the car and I'm gonna drive this biatch. And that's what I felt the whole time. I was like, damn, girl, just like, could you be nice for 2 seconds? Like Zendaya's face in this movie, like she's like a sister. The black side came out of her this whole movie. Like she would just sit in a scene and just like, and like you felt like 50 emotions on the screen. I'm serious. I was like, who is this girl?
It was so her performance was so impeccable. I'm like in awe, and it was just so good.
I felt like Eddie Murphy in Boomerang, right? After he has sex with Robin Givens and he grabs the blanket. I was like, oh my! I was like, why is she so mean? Why is she like this?
She was just direct.
Just love me. Just love me.
I think they had that moment in the
right. He's like, damn, girl, just love me.
He's like, can I just lay here while I fall asleep?
He's like, I love you. He's like, can I just hold you, please?
Can you just hold me while I fall asleep?
He's like, oh, okay, you weak human being of a person. Bro, that's how she was all the time.
She really was. She was a little.
She's like, you peasant. All right. Oh God. Like it was so seriously. I was like, damn, man. Could you give the man is like telling you I love you and I care about you. I did all this. Basically, did it all for her, and she doesn't even see that. She's like, no, you didn't do this all for me because if you did, you'd be the best at it. And I'm like, damn. Like, can I get a little? And then Patrick's broke ass. He just like, hey man, can I get in your jeans? Like he a dumbass.
And like I said earlier, the problem with Patrick was he was not focused on the thing that was most important, which was tennis.
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons to be learned as human beings in general about which path we choose to walk in life and how we follow through that. Like, do we have anything to fall back on? Going in 100% into something, yeah, can be great, but what can happen, right? And I kind of love that you're seeing the layers of that, and both walks of life. And I love shout out to these young actors. They're gonna be like, whew, man, we're gonna be good. We're gonna be good for a minute, man. We're gonna be good.
They were all so good. Their performances were flawless.
And shout out to this director, man. He really you go into this movie and it reminded me a little bit in Up in the Air, or what was it, the Jordan movie they did. And the reason why, because you never saw Jordan, but you didn't really see basketball, right? The whole thing was about this. So you're like, okay, I can still follow this story. It's based on a true story about one of the best, players of all time, celebrities of all time. And the same thing with this movie is like, it's about tennis, but there's like you said, Rob, there's layers to it, but they do the tennis so well, right? That you're like, as a former tennis player, not pro, but as a former tennis player, I played in high school and played with friends and stuff like that. So I played against some D1. Woo! When you see a ball, I remember in high school, because I was just really fast. And for all those old folks out there, Michael Chang was an Asian player, and he was low to the ground. He was just fast. He'd get the ball and do that. That was me. I was the black Michael Chang. I would go run back, hit the ball, and run back and hit. So I remember some kid from this academy, Staten Island Academy. He served the ball so fast. I just dropped my rack. I said, "Man, that was good. You're gonna be good someday." Like there's levels to play. When you see a ball whiz by your head at like 95, 100 miles an hour, you're just like, yeah, this ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? And so I love that when they show the work ethic in tennis players. Suppose Zendaya said Serena came to the court one day to watch her play, and she was like, oh my God. And just to be able to perform that day and hit the ball back, she was like, I was nervous as hell. And think about that, right? On the court, in most team sports, you have other players to help you out, so if you have a bad day. But in tennis, that is one of the rare sports. Like, there ain't no team. It's just you. And you got to perform, and that's it. Like that in golf. Two sports, like, you were just alone by yourself. That is all you. It's all on you. And if you don't persevere through that storm, or that just manage yourself, even when you go through the storm, you're done. You're done mentally and physically. Like, look at what's her name in the gymnastics. Biles, when she just went, she's like, I can't do this right now. And I get it. You can break your neck on based on what she's doing. And so just everybody was all up in arms, like, oh my God, you can't perform. I was like, you go jump up on a bar with your head triple loops in the air and then land on your feet. Come on, man. So I get that. And I love that they show that mental, like, hey, I need to be focused. And that's just to go back to what you're saying. You have to be focused. You have to respect the sport. And I love how they did this. I think tennis players, regardless of not being a tennis movie, they'll say, wow, at least you did justice to tennis.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you can just be like mess it all up, and that's like, oh man, I gotta watch this badass tennis right now.
And to that, I also loved how they played into the elements of tennis that as viewers that we always think are funny, and like really leaned into that, like the
oh yeah, Rob. I was like, this is Rob's part. I was upset. I was like, why this brother? I love to give him his jobs. I thought about you right off the bat. I was like, this guy should be Rob's job. Like right here, this is your job. He was too.
Also, like I love how they like really leaned into. They used those moments where there's a lot of moments where we're not actually watching the tennis players. We're watching the spectators watch the tennis players, and we're like watching as they like watch the tennis match. So you feel the emotion of the experience that they're experiencing through the way that they were able to capture it. So I thought they did a great job in those moments as well. Because like you said, it is, you know, tennis is the foundation of the story, but it's so much more than that. But they did play with tennis very well in the film, so it's another character in the film, and they did it extremely well. So I really loved everything about it: the cinematography, the writing, the performances. The writing was just impeccable.
Yeah, and I also love how they deal with an athlete retiring and when to hang it up, family and life balance. Like they discussed that a little bit, and that's a big part. I mean, think about Brady that just retired, right? He was like, hey, I can't do this, and we lost his wife, man, because he loved the sport that much, and what players have to do and sacrifice. So I really love that they hit every aspect of a professional athlete and what could happen and what does happen and what can happen. And then you just see what's going to happen. I still call her a home wrecker. I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to stick to her being a home wrecker. And I'm going to stick to Art being awful. That Guy Code, he broke Guy Code times 1,000. So those are my two things.
Or Patrick.
Art Patrick was dating her first. Patrick was dating her first.
Art is married to her.
Again, you broke that when you stabbed me in the back.
He didn't stab him in the back. He told him, and Patrick said, "You're trying to wait until I mess this up, aren't you?" He's like, "Good for you." Patrick was okay with it. Patrick knew what he was doing. Yes, he was, because he wanted.
The weakest guys always say, "I'm okay with that, man. Yeah, do what you got to do, player. It's all good."
No, I think Patrick was like, "Okay, fair game."
Well, he saw that as a way out. Like, okay, then I don't really have to stick to this. You know?
I just
he was a commitment guy. It was his first relationship to be like, hey, I'm serious. And now it was like, hey, I'm nervous about commitment, just like she is. She's an amazing human being. She's going to be a star someday. But I just don't know what I can offer her versus I want to focus on my career and my life and my dreams and my goals. And so there's a sacrifice, I think, that you don't even see that level, especially even in college. Like, oh my God, I'm willing to. I have to do this. I can't hang out another night. I got to study. I got to do this because I want to be a doctor, or I want to be the next person on this, or that. And it's like,
but I think Art looked at her, and Art saw this beautiful woman who was at the top of her game. So he felt like the way that Patrick was treating her was undeserving of her. So I think he, as Patrick's friend, was like, you shouldn't be with her because she's better than what you're offering. So, and I think that's fair. And because only reason I think
somebody does that right now. You dating somebody that says, "Hey, you know, Rob,
only reason I think it's fair, Ro, is because that is the relationship that Patrick and Art had, and we established that relationship from the beginning when they first meet her. So even their pursuit of Tashi is like a challenge, and they use it as a challenge, right? They use tennis as a challenge to see who gets to have the opportunity to be with Tashi. In the end, Art's with her, but I think he felt like he was more deserving of the relationship because he actually wanted to honor her because he thought she was a beautiful, talented woman, whereas Patrick was like, she was disposable, but she was fun for the moment. And I think Art felt like she deserved more than that. And I think they were okay with that as friends. I think in the banter of their relationship, they both agreed that that was the circumstance, and they were okay with the way it turned out. I do think Patrick wasn't being as transparent or wasn't being as honest about the feelings he was developing for Tashi, but he wasn't being honest with her about it either. So in the end, she ended up with the person who I think was going to be better for her in a relationship, but also the person who was going to be weaker in the pursuit of tennis.
Yes, but I also
ultimately ended up being the most successful.
But I also think she had her own because the stuff that happens later, you're like, like if you're secure with your thing, you can get better. Why do it with that? You know, why mess up the balance? There's other ways you can mess up balances and flows, but when you recycle, I'm gonna leave it at that. When you recycle, you really mess up the balance and flow of stuff.
Because I think it was about
you go get new stuff and be like, that creates its own energy. But when you recycle, that's resurfacing old stuff. I'm just saying.
Again, it was about the
movie. It's the balance. It's learning.
It was about the power of connection in a relationship. Yes, and that was the thing that kept bringing her back. And that was the thing that made him slightly more attractive as a tennis player.
Please, everybody, see this movie. And right back to Rob Smith.
I'm telling you, watch it with
Blackfilm.com and let him know that, hey, these characters are gangster and they don't care about each other and they're selfish. The only good everybody listen, Patrick's my favorite character. He was a nice guy at the end of the day. He wore who he was on his sleeve. These other two people are snakes.
If you want to watch the lens through a simplistic lens, then
snakes in the grass. Can't trust anybody. Listen, kids, don't trust anybody. Everybody got their own agenda. That's what I learned. You know what I learned from this movie? That's what I learned. Everybody got their own agenda. And if it doesn't go with what they want, then hey, your ass out.
Wrong.
That's all I'm saying. Anyway, any last things you want to add, Rob?
No, I thought it was beautifully written. Cinematography was great. Like you said, you really felt those moments where you were on the tennis match with
IMAX. Gotta see an IMAX.
The performances were stellar. I definitely recommend it. I think everybody should go see it, and I can't rave about it enough. I think it's really.
So Rob, give the people what they want. Give the people what they want, Rob. What would you rate this film, Rob? What would you give it? I don't even know what you could get, Rob. Would you go even crazy and give it a crazier score than I think you're gonna give it?
Ro, I'm gonna give this film a 10 out of 10.
There we go. Yes. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while. Look. See, he's back.
Oh my God.
Gotta love it. Hey, we missed it. We all missed Rob's Corner. We all missed Rob's Corner. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
There we go.
It doesn't happen often.
Doesn't. It used to happen every day. But now it's been a while. Man, listen, directors gotta get better. That movie. That movie.
It was like 2. We actually didn't review.
That one movie was probably the worst.
That was gonna get a 0, so I'm glad we didn't review that one.
So bad we came. Like someone just said, I remember I sent you that meme. I was like, they were just like, "Hey, you go, man. Hey, we're gonna go this way." Nah, we don't like that anymore. Just scratch everything. Whew. Anyway, sorry guys, we went on a little trip just down there. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. I don't know what we're gonna do for next week. We'll find something. I gotta find out by today, tomorrow. But something will be good. And then got some big sequels coming up, or 4. I don't know what 4s are called anymore now. But yeah, there's 3s and 4s. There's Beverly Hills Cop coming out in the summer, July. That's probably when we're done. We'll take the break from there. And then we got Bad Boys 4. We got another 4 movie coming out. And so when you do 4s, you get nervous because 4s are a lot of work. I don't know that many good movies that did a good 4. It's tough. So we're gonna see what they do. But sometimes the 3 was so bad that they made up for it before. So it's like, oh, you know what? 4 was actually good because 3 was so bad. So
if 3 was that bad, they shouldn't even make a 4. But
listen, we got to save Beverly Hills Cop 3. We got to save that movie. That was the worst.
It's amazing.
Anyway, I digress. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Ro and Rob. Rewind with Ro. That's what we do. And Rob. That's what we do. Okay. See you next week.